Hello, Unity community, and welcome back to NetCheck Part 3. My name is Jackson. I am your community manager here at Unity, responsible for your Twitch and YouTube live streams. I'm excited to be here with the gang as we are bringing you some very exciting content. But of course, I'm not alone, could not do this alone. Thomas is here as well. Thomas, how the heck are you?
I'm doing okay. A little bit of a hectic morning, but we got it figured out. It's good to see you, Jackson. Hope the Tuesday's Tuesdaying as well as it needs to.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try to crush some bugs and build some more netcode stuff because we got lots to do today.
Lots to get through today. I know we talked about it for the last two as well, but doing this live, doing all of the coding, doing everything in front of an audience, does it add a layer of stress for you?
Nah. I mean, it does, but also everyone's been super cool. So therefore, it hasn't been.
Calm, cool, and collected as always, Thomas. I appreciate that. And we will rely on you in the lovely chat to help us problem solve through things, ask questions, and otherwise just hang out and engage with us. We are excited. We are paying attention to chat. So if you have anything, please let us know. What I would love to hear from you is, what is a game that inspires you? And chat, while you are answering that, I want to get an answer from Thomas, and then we'll bring in the gang, the whole gang, and say hello. Thomas, what's a game that inspires you?
All right, I'll go with the Made with Unity one. Sea of Stars is pretty inspiring because if y'all have played that one, if you haven't played it yet, it's beautiful RPG, gorgeous recreation of like all the stuff I loved in the old RPGs back in the day. The mechanics are sick. The story is amazing. The boss battle at the end is grueling. It's like a grueling 90 minutes or something. It's wonderful. What a great game. So Sea of Stars.
Right up there. Beautiful homage to like 90s JRPGs, stunning visuals, great engaging gameplay. For me, sometimes the turn-based combat's a bit of a turnoff, but like they managed to keep it engaging and keep it exciting. So that was fantastic. I played it on stream, definitely cried in front of an audience. It was a heartfelt story to say the absolute least as well. But Thomas, please help us. We gotta get the whole band back together.
It's time to bring the band back. So we actually have some pretty exciting folks coming in to join us today. Back from vacation, living indie dev life. Joy, you made it.
I heard y'all were making a game, and I just had to get in on this.
It's good to have you back. If y'all watch the classic scope checks, Joy was one of the founding members. Wrote a lot of the code.
At least you're not saying vintage scope check. I don't think I'm mentally prepared for that. But yes, I'm back to see what we could do with the game that we put so much blood, sweat, and tears into last time around.
And of course, we wouldn't be able to pull this thing off without our network expert, our multiplayer guru, our magician of multiplayerification. I'm out of ideas. Esteban,
I did my best. I tried my best. Hey everyone. Hi everyone. My name is Esteban, one of the developer advocates here at Unity, and indeed, feeling that same kind of same thing as Joy said. Like I saw these people making a cool, very cool game, and when people started saying like, "Oh, maybe this could be a multiplayer game," like convert it to multiplayer, I was like, "Yep, I'd like to help, please." Yes.
Of course, it is the summer of Esteban, so we're so honored that you took some time out of your busy schedule to join us. The summer of Esteban continues. Of course, that's what NetCheck is all about. We are taking a game that this gang created last year, and we are converting it to multiplayer. We are bringing you along for the ride. We are going to showcase tips and tricks and give you a little insight to what the behind the scenes looks like as we likely problem solve live. Thomas, is there anything that we need to get through before we go back to last stream and catch up on things?
Yes, we have a few things we got to talk about before we go live. So of course, my entire dream and my entire mission is to make sure the students get cool resources. So if you check out this amazing slide that I'm sure production has ready because they're the greatest, you can see that for the student plan, you should get it. You should get your student plan using that URL right there on the screen. You actually get access to Odin, the entire suite. You get 20% off stackable discount code on top of whatever is on sale at the asset store. You get, of course, access to the editor. You get a nice free Cinti asset bundle. And our team is always working on building more benefits for you. So please, if you're a student or an educator in the chat, hit those links. That'll help you sign up to get your free access to stuff. And we would really, really love to have you get all the free things from us. Another thing we need to make sure we talk about is that Unite is like 4 weeks away.
So it's coming up quick.
Yeah, Unite Barcelona happening September 18th through the 19th. Again, if you're a student watching, we're actually going to be releasing registration for a student mixer in Barcelona on the 17th. However, you can join us at Unite if you want to come hang out. We've got all kinds of sessions, speaking engagements, mixers, games. It's going to be great. And you're going to learn all the Unity stuff you want to learn. And you get to do it in Spain, which is a beautiful place. So,
and if Spain is a little bit far from you, which it is for me and for all of us as well, but if you can't make it to Barcelona for Unite in person, we will be doing a series of live streams from the actual conference as well. We'll have more details to come, but if you found your way here today, you are in the right spot to be able to engage with all of that content. So if you're not able to make it live, we're going to find a way to bring a little bit of Unite to you wherever you are in the world. Before we catch up on where we were with NetCheck Part 2, a few people answering today's question of what's a game that inspires you. Reign of Jazz says Bastion. The story, music, mechanics, and artwork and animation, just everything. Angel Beat Flight says Soulsborne genre in general, hard to pick a single title. Thank you very much to Fang for your raid and bringing your community over here to join us for NetCheck Part 3, where Thomas, what did we get done last week? And what are we trying to get done this week?
So before we dive into that, there's one more thing I want to make sure Esteban gets to show with the Summer of Esteban. Because tomorrow, I believe, is Dev Day. Am I right? Is tomorrow the Blitz Day?
You're very correct. And tomorrow is shout out to Juliana and Trey who helped organize this awesome remote event. So, and we have the link right here that we can share with the chat. But yeah, tomorrow, if you have any questions about multiplayer stuff, like any of the services that we have available, whether it's Unity 6 or Unity 2022 LTS, anything, even DOS multiplayer, like bring in your questions because we have, and I counted, I think it's like 13 development team members that will like join in at different times of the day. I'll be there as well to answer some questions, and you'll get direct help with multiplayer development from the team actually making these tools. So we can share the link, or perhaps we can actually show it a little bit, but it's in our Unity discussions, and it's going to be happening from tomorrow from 7 a.m. in the Eastern time in the US all the way to 7 p.m. So it's a 12-hour window that you can just go in, hop in our dedicated multiplayer Discord server and ask away. Yep, that's awesome. Happening tomorrow.
Last shout out, by the way, the Bull in YouTube says an inspiring game for them was StarCraft, which I think a lot of us came up playing the StarCrafts. Oh yeah, as I did.
Absolutely.
So,
to kind of springboard off of that for the Bull talking about StarCraft, we had a new RTS that we featured about a month ago on one of the streams. I wonder if you were here for that, but Sanctuary Shattered Sun looks like a very promising evolution in the RTS genre, so get excited for that.
But again, with Dots, right? That's a Dots game as well. Which is super sick. Yeah,
we dove into Dots a little bit and showcased some of the capabilities of that game and that system, which is super cool. But again, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Welcome on in, those of you that are trickling in. If you were watching this as a VOD after the fact, hey, thank you for doing so. But we also have we will have this video chaptered out. So if you want to skip through all of this recap because you've been watching them all, you're keeping up to date, you don't need the recap. If you want to just skip to the meat of the content, feel free to take a look at that scroll bar at the bottom and find yourself where you want to be.
Yeah. Okay. I think now we can dive forward and actually do some devin. Somebody mentioned, by the way, do you write a design document before making a multiplayer game?
I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. You're the epic designer in here, Joy. Why don't you tell us your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like in an ideal world, when you're doing your initial designs, you'll have whether or not you're doing multiplayer in mind from the very beginning. And actually, if you look back, we kind of did have that in that the chat directed us to make a multiplayer game and we just kind of, I don't want to say failed. We didn't reach our initial goal. So the idea is that you definitely want to get these major design features, and multiplayer certainly is a major design feature, in early on, so you could plan everything with that in mind. In our case, because we had a loose idea, but then we went through and really had to fundamentally change a lot of our systems. Yes, we did a lot of designing ahead of time. Thomas actually went and did a lot of very deep, I think, stressed thinking about figuring out how we're converting to netcode. But we certainly did think about this and figure out how we were going to implement it before we moved forward. So plan early, plan often. And remember, pre-production is just important as the rest of the cycle. Do not skip it for the sake of getting to development faster.
Yep, yeah. Agreed. Okay, so I think it's time to jump into previously on NetCheck. So last time we did a little bit of work on our game, as y'all saw. So we got our character spawning, of course, on multiple instances. We also got movement rewritten. And if y'all remember, we took physics out of the movement equations. We did a transform-based movement system. I don't know why that's so hard to say, but we did. And then we started wanting to sync the player ID, and we hit a little bit of a bug where basically the player ID wasn't transmitting back and forth as we saw fit, right? Like it was updating, but we weren't getting it. So the homework was to get those IDs syncing before we came back, which we got done. We did it. So let's take a look at the code, and I can walk you through kind of what the solution was for that. And then we can actually have a discussion about how we want to tackle this as well. So let me make sure I've got Visual Studio up. I do. I think we're good here. So what we were trying to do again was sync this player ID, which is just a text mesh pro object. And we were trying to do it without a network variable, right? We were trying to pass this data around using essentially RPC calls and just send the data over an RPC call. For those that are just joining this, RPC is a remote procedure call. So this is different. What ended up happening is I dove in and took a look at some tutorials. Shout outs to Dilmer, actually, who helped me find the solution. And jumping in, we found a pretty easy way to take care of this. So what we have here is a network variable of type ulong, and that's our network ID variable. Of course, you have to instantiate that right here when you create it, or you have to call the constructor. So here it is. And then we have a Boolean saying, is the player ID set that is default to false? So there's that. And then we have an on-network spawn event, which we talked about last time quite a bit. But just to reiterate, this happens when the object spawns to the network. So when it is spawned, this event fires. And we're basically saying, hey, am I the server? And if so, let's get this value, which is the owner client ID. And we're adding it to +1 because the client IDs is a data structure. I think it's a list or a library. I can't remember. Either way, it's going to be 0 at the base, right? So we want to add 1 to index it correctly. And we're going to set this network variable and then, of course, call the base class. But then all we do is inside of update is we are going to check if the player is set. If it is not, we'll set it really quick, and then we'll change this to true. So it just happens once. And then instead of set player ID, we're just using some $ magic to pop this together, and that'll set the text to the ID. And that's it. So
You make it sound so easy, Thomas.
And it was just as easy as that.
Yeah. But that was the solve versus sending remote procedure calls back and forth, trying to get things to link up and tie things together. Is just use a network variable. Every time something spawns, the network variable gets updated. We set the text value, and then that syncs between everything, and we're good.
Perfect.
Yay.
I know we've talked a little bit about how we're not able to do everything 100% live on the stream, but thank you for kind of recapping and catching everybody up. I think you guys have been doing a fantastic job of working together off stream and then looping everybody in as we roll.
No problem. Anybody else have any thoughts on this code or questions that I can answer before we jump to the next little bit?
What's the what did you find being the difference between like the network variable and an RPC? When to use when?
So I'm going to give a very bad explanation of this, and maybe you could help a little bit too. Yeah. For me, the RPC is when you want to run a function on an object, right? Whether that object be a client or a host, when you're requesting some kind of a function to run, which is what we thought we were doing here. A network variable is essentially a variable that exists on the server that you can, well, really only the server can change values to, and you have to request access to, I think, otherwise, that you can pull the data from, is kind of the difference I got here. What are your thoughts there, Esteban?
No, same as that, and sounds like also like these are just like different features that you can take advantage of,
Right.
based on whatever problem you're solving. Yeah, and the good thing is, like, like the documentation explains how to use both of these and apply them whenever you feel it's needed. Like, but network variables, like, definitely can be used for stuff like that persists over the session, like score or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Now, there is something about this I want to talk about. So we are using owner client ID. And from my research and understanding is owner client ID is assigned to the client, and it is not dynamically updated, as far as I can tell. And what I mean by that is, if I connect to a host as a client, I am assigned an ID. If I disconnect and a new client connects, I don't get to reuse that old client ID. The new client gets a net new ID. And it's done that way, I'm assuming, so that if the client disconnects and reconnects, it keeps its same ID, right? The data stays the same. So it's really useful to use owner client ID for this. The downside to it is, in my testing, when I was basically just like closing these out, like when I would just close out a client and reconnect a new client, suddenly I would have player 1, player 3, player 4. And if I disconnected player 3 and then reconnected with a net new client, I wouldn't have player 5, right? So you do have to put some validation in there if you want to limit your player numbers or figure out how you want to set that up. That's not something I did in this. This is just, again, to get the ID syncing. The other thing you could do, which is a fun way if you always want it to be just the latest player to join, you could actually get access to the client list and just get a .count, which is what I did. And then with the .count, you could just have the ending there. But again, it's depending on how you want your implementation. In this specific one, I actually want the client ID to stay consistent, I think, because we're limiting it to 4 players. So if a player desyncs and then comes back, we want them to stay connected. Like, we want them to keep their player number, right? Like, we want to know which player dropped and why.
It goes to show, like, even something so basic as who's playing already can be and correctly identifying who's playing can already a much more complex problem than what it is in a single player game. But but that's what we have, good tools to let us solve the job.
Exactly. So that's what we settled on for this. Now, the other thing I did is, because I got this solved, I got really excited. And I was like, well, I should get my timer syncing. And so I did jump forward and write a networks timer really quick.
You're looking for
Nice.
extra credit on your homework.
Yeah, I just wanted to get this out of the way. So we'll run through this code really quick, and then we'll jump into actual network instantiation, which I believe Esteban's going to help us with. Yeah, we're going to need that help from you because he's the
I'll do
genius
my
here.
best.
So the timer UI, basically the way it works is it calls a coroutine that just runs it down, right? And so it's just decrementing a variable. And I actually set it up as a network timer variable. So this is an integer-based network variable. And then I have a network variable. It's a Boolean. This just is the timer complete or not. And so what happens here is, and this is where we can actually talk about remote procedure calls, because this uses a combination of the two. And so we have the value.length, and then while this is greater or equal to 0, then it's going to set the timer text RPC, and then it's going to decrement the value, and then it'll wait a second, right? And just keep clicking through and keeping us going. And then this is basically when it gets out of this loop, the timer's completed. Therefore, it's going to set the timer visibility, and then it's going to set the value to true, and it's going to go ahead and break us out of there. And what happens here then is we have an RPC that we send to clients and hosts. This is the remote procedure call. And basically, we're going to say, hey, like, set the timer text. Literally, all we're doing is taking the value and two-stringing it on wherever the RPC is received. And because we're using a network value, the value is the same on all clients and hosts. And so that will basically send it out to clients and hosts and say, hey, update the text. It'll do that, and we'll see it sync. And then we have the set timer visibility, which actually calls our wave canvas and sets it to whatever value we pass in here. And the wave canvas is the actual canvas inside of Unity right here that shows us what wave we're on and has the timer right here. So that's how we're setting that up. And the reason that I have this Boolean set up here is you'll notice that if the network timer.complete is true, it's automatically going to set the visibility to false and return. And the reason we wanted to do that, or I wanted to do that, was because we had this issue where if you connected too late and the state sync was finishing or already done, that the timer would just sit on the screen and you wouldn't get any changes, right? So this is actually saying, hey, is the timer already finished counting down? If so, go ahead and just turn it off and we'll just move into the gameplay. So that was a little solve for that.
Beautiful.
I'm learning a lot. For full transparency, prior to starting here, I have 0 dev experience, and then my orientation week, they were like, here, learn how to make a game. And I was like, wow, you can do a lot with no experience in Unity. But then obviously to get it more intricate and more advanced, you need to learn and grow. So I've been studying. I've been studying you guys. So whereas the first couple of streams, I might have just like blindly nodded along, here I'm like, okay, I know where we're going with this. I'm picking it up. Thomas, you're an excellent instructor. Keep it up.
Thank you.
So Jackson, does that mean that somehow we'll make a dev out of you?
Somehow we'll make
Make
a
a
dev.
dev.
Yeah.
Out of
Out of
you.
I thought we were going Disney route on it, and I'm here for it. A
Any
personal
opportunity.
connection. Okay, great. Everybody watching, chat, if you've got Disney/game dev related puns, let us know throughout the stream.
Be a dev.
Yeah, dev. Yeah.
You'll hate yourself and you'll cry with code screens.
Be a dev. Okay.
Excellent.
You'll notice that your brackets aren't there. All right, so we've got this set. That was kind of the code review of what happened in the last week. I didn't want to spend too much time finger waving, but I wanted to show you all like, hey, we found this bug or this issue last time. We didn't have time to finish it and solve it. And now we have solved it. So I think now it's time to instantiate some network variables.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So
Looking at the
our
chat,
goal is to
network
have
timer
our
variable
players
is
shoot.
not a great name. That's fair. We can refactor it later. I appreciate the feedback.
I was going to ask
All right.
how you respond to criticism, but you're just taking it.
I mean, it's fine.
I accept.
I have no issue. We can always go through and have meetings to rename our stuff and update it. But for now, it's working, so we'll figure it out later. Let's jump
Function
to... All right, Esteban. So this is us trying to figure out how to instantiate network objects, right?
Correct. So
yeah.
So right now the player, if I remember correctly, we are only moving the player, and you can movement get
Correct.
synchronized, and that great solution to like everybody knows which player ID you are. But I mean, moving is pretty cool. But now we want our player to be able to like defend itself against some enemies if enemies show up.
Right.
So we want to. That means that we need to instantiate stuff at runtime based on actions on our client. So
Right.
based on key presses. So we need to start instantiating one. So the first step we would need another network prefab, and thankfully we have a lot of cool ammo prefabs from last time. So let's go to the food one. Yeah. And we can go ahead and select that hot dog prefab that we have.
Okay. Hot dog is ready.
Yes.
Hot dog is always ready. That's the wonder of the hot dog.
And if it's okay with you, I'm going to speed run this portion and just get it set up as a network object, if that's okay.
Definitely.
So we need to add the network object. And because of that, we're also going to need to have a network transform, right? Because we need to know where this thing exists.
Correct. And since it's only going to be moving in the X and Z axis, I think that we can, and I don't think it's ever going to, yeah, exactly. There we go. We don't need to synchronize the rotation X and Z because it's never going to rotate in those axes.
Yep.
And it's never going to scale up or down. So I believe that should be good. We might have to come to that Y variable in the position, but I really don't think so.
I actually think we will. Thinking back to the player issue I was having when I was first converting this, because the player was spawning and being stuck in the middle of the level.
Mm.
And like in the middle of the board, and I had to turn on Y syncing to fix that. So I wonder if we should just check this just to be safe.
Yeah. Let's leave it on for now. And if anything, we can test disabling it. But yeah. So network transform, you read my mind, network transform, network object. And for those of you like maybe not familiar, or this is the first time joining, network object is like basically a component that you add to a game object that tells the game, hey, this is an object that can be replicated during a network session. And so it's a required component if you want that functionality. So you added the network rigid body. I saw that, Thomas. That's awesome. And also, I mean, do we have a rigid body to begin with?
It does have
Yes.
a rigid body. So yeah, so I added the network rigid body just to make sure, because it threw that little error. It gave me that warning. So I wanted to make sure we were set.
Okay. Okay. So I see also that we have that object pool behavior. So this is jumping a little. So we might be jumping a little bit ahead there. We can
remove this, right?
Yeah, for now.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this off because that's working with our local network pool. Therefore, we don't need to mess with it, right?
For now, because we're later. Hopefully we can get to this, but we're gonna borrow object pooling with an enabled network functionality from our samples team that released this awesome asset for everybody to use. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So now I believe we did convert it, and now this ammo should be replicable. So it should work on a network. Thomas, one thing we need to check is on the network manager. We need to check if our hot dog now is part of the prefabs list.
Oh, you're right. So we need to go dig up the prefabs list and that's on the network manager. We go to this network prefabs list, right? And we can just find this scriptable object here.
Exactly. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Oh,
we already have it. And the chat, for people that are maybe not familiar with using this, the reason why we're adding it is that this is basically telling the game, hey, think of the network manager sort of like a bouncer that has the invite list to who can get in or who cannot get in, or who's not gonna participate in the network session. So it needs that invite list before the game actually starts. And so basically anything that you want to replicate, and you can have it as a list of replicable enemies or replicable ammo, and so on. It really depends on what kind of game you're making.
Yep. I want to answer a question from chat because I think this is a really, really, really great question. So somebody says, why don't you just have them spawn from their own pools? Why do you need a network pool manager? And the reason for that is because we're using a server authoritative design. Only the server has permission to spawn stuff. So we have to basically have a network pool that lives on the server that we can then spawn to. So when a client wants to spawn something, it's not going to be like, yo, it's not going to be like a local multiplayer where you just throw something and it spawns with the player. It's actually going to be the process of, I want to spawn. This is what I want to spawn. Yo, server, can you please spawn this for me? Server says yes, bounces it back, and then we all see the replication. So that's why we have to do a network pool. So the server actually has to handle the instantiation for us.
Very
Absolutely.
Nice. Bagardi Dev saying thanks for answering. Obrigado, thank you for your question. Again, if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube live right now, feel free, hop in the chat, ask us questions, propose solutions. Again, we're always curious to know what you guys are thinking while we're going here.
Now, Esteban, you're more than welcome to keep guiding me through this. If you want, I do have Parsec set up. If you want to remote in and do some stuff. Or do you think that's adding too much mix to what we're doing right now? I think he's muted.
Quiet.
He's quiet.
He's miming. It's fine. It's our job to figure out what he's saying. It's the lip reading session.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I muted for a bit. My bad. Sorry. But let's see. Do I have Parsec open? No, unfortunately.
Okay, cool.
Oh, there we go. But I have to log in and everything. So Thomas, please continue for now. Let me try and log in over here.
All right, so we have this set up. We have the prefab ready. So I guess next we need to edit. We need to get access to the on throw, right? To make sure that when the throw happens, we actually instantiate something. Is that correct? Is that our next step we should be looking at, I think?
Yeah, so we definitely need a way to instantiate and spawn the game object. In fact, Thomas, I have there's a little class that I actually used even for my own
perfect
sample called the Network Object Spawner. It's actually part of that old Galactic Kitten samples, remember? So what we did is that we isolated the functionality of spawning, of spawning and despawning. So this class, what it does is that it's a singleton that the only thing it does it handles object spawn. So, but it also relies on this one, which is a base singleton class. So this is no object. This is no object pooling. This is just one-off, just a one-off spawning.
Okay.
So maybe we can start that way. So like, because before we want to jump into object pooling and a little bit more complex object management, we should definitely learn how to spawn objects to begin with.
Okay, so let me create this really quick. So, well, this is the network object spawner, I believe is what you were calling this.
Mm-hmm. And there's although it relies on a singleton class that I sent.
I'll grab that as well. Let me
Nice.
just drop this in and save it. So we're just copy and pasting Esteban's class here. Oh, I like this. Oh, and I got a little if Unity editor check. This is cool.
No, I will say shout out to Studio Bromio, who collaborated with us. Studio Bromio from Mexico, they collaborated with us. Although I did participate in the development of this game, but they handled a lot of it, and it was super awesome to work with them. So shout out, amazing team with an amazing attitude. So definitely, if anybody's looking for a little bit help on their game, reach out to them. Amazing folks.
All right, let me just grab your singleton setup here. And this is just called, I'm assuming we're just calling this singleton. Create C# script singleton. All right, sorry, y'all. I know watching copy and pasting isn't super exciting, but it's way more exciting than watching us just type from memory, or also just read the screen and type it for you.
So,
okay.
So what you'll see is that like you have different kind of singleton classes that you can take advantage of, and it'll be an object. Right now, what you're seeing is an offline version. So this has where it can be a singleton of any kind of model behavior. But if you scroll down, there's a little one that's like I think it's singleton network. So instead of being a mono behavior, it'll be a network behavior.
Right. So we're gonna change this to network behavior right here.
Oh no! You don't need to change it.
Okay.
It should be in the file. If you scroll down, it should be in the file included.
Oh, yep. You're right here. Network behavior where T is component, singleton
Heck
network. Got it. Okay, cool. So this is ready. And then let me just verify that we got the other one set up. Apologies, my brain wandered. I was reading some really interesting discussion in the chat about syncing data. Man, I need to find that Dilmer tutorial to show you, because that's what the network variable conversation we had earlier solved for us as well. But all right, I don't see any compilation errors. Everything seems fine here, so we're good, yeah? So yeah, there's a public set of game object spawn
like
network
I mentioned,
object.
they did amazing work, and it's and you can see you can take advantage of spawning, or just spawning in a particular rotation or particular position. So yeah, pretty cool. Oh, that one was meant spawn, but give ownership to somebody else.
Got it. So you're passing ownership over to somebody else. That's why you're passing in a new client ID. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Although that's a little bit older way of working, because now Neko for game objects, you can spawn with ownership. Like this is so basically there's a function called that when you spawn, you can already give ownership to it. So yeah, that was just slightly older way.
That's part of the new distributed authority stuff, right?
I'm sorry?
Is that part of the new distributed authority stuff we released?
Oh, no.
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's just regular. So it applies for both, but yeah.
Got it.
So this is probably the one that we're going to be using, or maybe the one below. But the thing is, yeah, you can spawn a network object. You call the singleton, and then you spawn a network object with a position.
All right. So what we need to do then is get access. We need to get a reference to we need to actually do the spawning in the character controller. Then is our next step after adding these, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Because we need to take advantage of our players' actions. So in the update, ownership means who is. I love that we let that comment there. Okay. No, that's good. And so now maybe under the move inside of the update, we can check to see if our user has pressed spacebar, for example, maybe.
Yeah, we could do it inside a move. Should we just do that and just check inside there to see if it spawns? So if input dot. Sure. Now we're using the new input system though, not the old input system.
Oh, correct.
So
I'm gonna need a little bit help with that one.
So I think what we can actually do is there's a let's see. Let me remember how I did this. P actions are enabled. Return var move equals player that moved at read value vector 2. So I think we could do another read value On the asset, let's go take a look really fast. I think there's 2 ways we could do that. I would really like to get access to the on throw function, but if you remember, we would need to do a few things to make sure the on throw worked the way we want it to. Let's go look at our asset really fast. Actions here. So this is our input actions here. So we have a throw, which registers the space. What kind of binding is it? Space, path, keyboard, mouse, interactions. Throw is just a button, so trigger on press only. So we should theoretically be able to use on throw to get access to this. So I think we could actually do... And then
so it's similar to reacting to a message from Unity, like update or wake,
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of.
And exactly, it's reacting to that. And let me just double check, because we have... Let's go look at our original throw implementation to make sure I have this set right, because I don't remember what we did a year ago. Let's see.
I feel like that's reasonable. I feel like I remember exactly what we did a year ago would be a stranger thing to hear.
You must have a photographic memory.
Well, I'm done. Sorry, y'all. It's over. My dev days are over. So void on throw. Yeah, so basically it's just on throw, and then it'll just do something. So that's all we need to do is just void on throw.
Oh, so that's how that's working. That's awesome.
Whoop. So this should theoretically be fired. Now, there's a gotcha here because of the way the input system was working with the network system. And if you remember, our friend Noel gave us like some boilerplate code to fix it, basically. If you remember right. And I've got to remember how to do that. So let's just see if we can get on throw working, and then we'll take it from there, if that's okay. So basically on throw, we need to figure out...
Maybe we can do like a debug log of like, hey, okay, is it actually working?
Yeah. And the only thing that can actually... the only thing that should be throwing is the owner, right? Theoretically.
Correct. Which is going to be owned by the client. So yeah.
Yep, should be there, right? And I think this is where we were getting that strange issue. But let's take a look at this first and just see if this works to start things off. So if his owner, let's just do I threw something. Not I threw a dog, that's evil. I threw a hot dog. Sorry. As I typed that, I realized the horror I was bringing into the world.
Getting us canceled. Well, yeah. We never got to part 4 or 5.
Defeating enemies just, one puppy at a time. Just
no.
It's work optimization is what it is. Now we don't have to do a Twitch stream.
Ever again.
All right. So theoretically, throwing this in. And then we hit host. And if I hit spacebar, hey.
You threw a hot dog.
I threw a hot dog.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. So we know that on throw is working. So that's a good start. Now that is because I'm the host. I will tell you that we're going to have to do some tweaking of the code because I'm pretty sure that this implementation worked perfectly on the host and it'll have some issues on the client, but we'll get there when we get there. Okay. So then if his owner, what do we need to do next?
Okay. So now, now we can actually spawn. Yeah, now we can actually spawn. So do the name of the singleton class, network object spawner, dot spawn game object,
spawn network object,
spawn network object. Yeah.
Okay.
And you should take advantage. You should be able to take advantage of. So we need to assign up the prefab, and there's one of the functions that you can. Take advantage of the position. So you can assign it a particular position. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. And we need to assign a spawn position for the player. So we will need to add that really quickly.
Exactly. So we would exactly.
All right, let me get that ready. Oh my goodness. Form, spawn pause. And then we're going to need a prefab to spawn, right?
Correct.
Hot dog prefab. My favorite kind of prefab is the hot dog ones.
I mean, making a game that is centered around food, has it made you hungry throughout the development process?
Food-based game dev.
Food-based game dev. I think we're all doing this because we're hungry.
That's what has created this entire project. Just a desire for food.
Exactly. Instructions unclear. Spawn dog inside hot dog is now hot diggity dog.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the
Diggity
problem. Okay, so we got this set. So what's the other, now inside of here, what else does it want to know, Esteban? It wants the position, you
So
said?
the position. Or did I put the position first and then the prefab? Oh, no.
No, this looks right. It wants prefab, vector 3 position, and then we can do a bool destroy was seen equals true by default. So I think we're good here. Okay, so theoretically, this is going to work, right?
Oh, no, Thomas, it's not going to work. Why? You know why? Because our player is going to be on the client, which means that we need to do what? Send a message to the server to spawn it. I knew there was something, there was some funkiness going on.
Now, if it's the owner, hold on. So that means we need to say if it's the owner and it's the host, right? Or actually if it's server, then we can just do this, right? We can just do this thing.
No. And I would say if it's the owner and it's the client, because the clients are going to be owning the player.
Okay.
So then we need to tell the server, yo, spawn this hot dog for me and throw it, fling it in this direction.
And you're saying we only want to send it to the server, right?
Correct, because we want our ammo and our enemies to be owned by the server.
So, all right. So just to walk everybody through what we did really quick. So I just made this attribute, tells us this is a remote procedure call, and it's only going to send it to the server. And then,
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Okay. And then we just want to move this into the RPC, right?
Correct.
And then we're going to tell it to throw hot dog.
Exactly. So yeah, like Thomas said, what your device is saying, yo server, please throw this hot dog for me because I want you to own this hot dog. But spawn it at this position.
Okay, let me just make sure.
Heck yeah.
Okay. When the throw action is activated. Oh my gosh.
And this is one of the reasons why separating responsibilities in different kinds of classes and files is really good, because now you can reuse some old code that you made a long time ago and bring it up to a new project.
And this is super useful because my first thought when you were like, yeah, we're going to talk about instantiation first, is like, oh, we're going to have to write that. But no, thank you for having that ready. Okay. Shall we test the hot dog?
Let's try the hot dogness.
Big moment upcoming.
Big moment. Let's start by, let's go to Standy and let's...
actually, yes.
And let's make sure he's got a hot dog what to throw. We got to equip him with the proper weapons. If you want people to do your bidding, you got to give them what they need. So let's make sure to give him hot dog.
While you're loading that up, we got a question from the YouTube chat. What is the difference between RPC send to server and server RPC?
That is a very good question. And if I'm not mistaken, so now in the past you needed to write in those brackets server RPC, but that is the older way of working. Whereas Thomas, he correctly used the newer way. So now RPCs, there's no particular requirement like it needs to have server RPC in the name like it used to in the past. No, now you're making a kind of RPC and you have even more options as to who to send it to.
Now, that being said, I do want to cut you off real quick. It is throwing an error saying I have to have RPC in the suffix.
Wait, what?
Yeah, look at this. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I do, but you don't have to say server RPC, but I do have to say throw hot dog RPC.
Okay.
Javar, cool. Maybe in our YouTube chat, called that out just as we began testing. They saw it coming.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
big brains in chat today.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Okay.
Now, that change happened not too terribly long ago, right? Like a couple iterations back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. So it's not surprising that you're still thinking through that process, because that also threw me when I was first looking into this, because I was looking at old learning materials. So yes, just important to note that has changed.
Okay. Let's see what happens, y'all. We've done it. We've done the thing. We've set up the singleton. I'm actually really nervous about what's going to happen.
Are
here.
you? I can tell. It's
No, we can
palpable.
figure it out. It's all
Okay.
good.
That's okay. The wave manager, we don't care about the wave manager right now. That's fine. Dun, 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 dun,
The
and
wave
I'm
manager's like,
walking.
what do I do?
We're spawning network dogs, y'all.
Yay!
Are they? Oh, yeah, they are.
Where are
Nice.
these dogs? I can't see them. Do I need to be closer
They're
to my screen?
very, very tiny. They're little tiny dogs.
Double click
Enjoy
on
my
the-
forehead,
on the game-
everyone.
on
Hold
the
on
game
one sec.
tab, Thomas, so that you can maximize the screen.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right. Hold on.
increase
hold on,
the scale of the screen. This is very important data.
Everyone, check
y'all-
out these hot dogs.
Y'all don't want to see. All right, play maximize. Here we go. Let's go to the real dogs.
Let's give them their moment of glory, you know? Well deserved.
Recognize the dog.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the edge of hot dogs, and we're spreading them on this website. You.
Spawning a trail of hot dogs.
Yeah, it's
Here,
like
I see
forget
it.
breadcrumbs. You know, the Grimm's fairy tales were not thinking high enough level. What we really needed through that forest was just a trail of hot dogs.
It would have
This is
solved
how you
all
get
of the
home.
problems.
Like, because, you know, you're not going to get a bunch of crows. Well, actually, no, they probably will steal the hot dogs. It's still a more reliable system than breadcrumbs, is what I'm
Let me
saying.
just write y'all a message real quick with these hot dogs.
Huh?
That's kind of a high.
Is
Okay.
that in cursive. Well done.
So now that we've done this, we have them spawning, and they should show up on both ends because it's being spawned by the host. However, the hot dogs aren't moving, right? And that's because there's nothing moving them. They have no reason to move. We need to actually move them on the server side. Yes, sir.
Do you wanna test to? Do you wanna kick off a build to see if they show up on both ends?
Yes. I'm very nervous about this.
I'm nervous about it,
Were
but at
you
the same
hoping
time,
that no one was going to ask? You sound like you just got caught with your hand in a cookie jar. You're like,
me reaching for the cookie and myself like, no. I was like, what? All right.
We're waiting for this build. Actually, while this build fires off, great question. How would you set the following server RPC require ownership? I believe you can still do that, right?
Oh, does the person? Oh, I see. That's a question from Jacob, right?
Yeah.
Jacob, do you mean like send to a particular require ownership? So basically, send an RPC to anybody that doesn't own this kind of object. Is that what you mean?
me.
bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
I tried to mute. I didn't make it.
And to Scott, yep, we're doing it live. Bugs and all.
I tried to change the code to show something, and it was compiling it actively. That's my bad, y'all. I'm
Thomas.
sorry. All right, let's try that one more time. But yeah, you can still, just to
basically
answer that
Unity
question,
went like, hey.
but you can still do require ownership equals false here.
Oh, cool.
So, caught
Perfect.
your hand in the hot dog bun, by the way, guys. Let's not mix our food metaphors. The bull is absolutely right.
Well played, the bull. Well
I
played.
got caught ketchup handed.
Oh, yes.
All right, let's build and run one more time without changing the code while we do it. My hands are off the keyboard. I'm sorry.
Everybody hands up so we know. Cursed Darkness called our trail of hot dogs Reverse Pac-Man, which I enjoyed, and
Yep.
Tipsy Monk said I would definitely
Not gonna
follow that
lie.
trail, even if there was a Wicked Witch at the end.
That
More
one came to
hot
me
totally.
when I
dogs.
saw that.
Yeah,
oh,
that's
man. Reverse Pac-Man's actually a really great concept.
That's
Is
a
there a
base
game
for a
jam
game
coming
right
up?
there.
like you
There
try
it
to like
is.
fill the dots, and then the ghosts are trying to eat them, and you're trying to like slow the ghost down and fill the whole level with dots before they get you.
Dude, you could lead the ghost to like a ghost capturing machine. I'm trying to think of a non-Ghostbusters way to explain this concept. Like, how do we do? But you get what I
We'll
mean,
just get
right?
the license. It'll
If you
solve
catch my
everything.
meaning.
The ghost trap, instead of it being like a Ghostbusters ghost trap, it could just be like a stick with like a box made out of like silver, and then you just like pull the stick out as you run by.
Like the oldest trick in the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That's why it'll work. It's so dumb they won't know what hit them. It's so good.
Be
But then
unpredictable.
you end up with the spider situation where then you have a ghost in a box, but what do you do with the box?
It's a good call.
It reminded
I
me
mean-
of that Family Guy episode. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Ooh, a hot dog. Ooh, a hot
Ooh,
dog.
a hot dog.
Okay, let's see if the client stuff works. Here we go. Moment of truth, y'all. Apologies for the alt tab you're about to see. Dun, 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 dun.
It was on the grill. And now it's time for the tasting.
Been on that roller girl for 3 days.
Yeah.
Getting warm at the local gas station.
Oh my God, no.
We're building. All right. Here we go. Let's make sure I got this ready. Okay, host. Client. Numbers work. Movement works.
Very nice.
We are not spawning dogs.
No dogs.
And I'm pretty sure I know what the issue is here. It's from we basically need to add a little snippet of code to disable the input actions on specific things. And I'm trying to explain how it works. I can look it up in Slack and tell you all, but I do want to call out that our data is syncing, and I'm very excited about that. But I can show you, I can pull up what we need to fix there. Hold on, let me get into Slack and I can find the message. Let me find the thread that had the code fix from our friend Noel, who's really, really great.
In our Twitch chat mostly. I mean, in both chats are blowing up right now. And again, thank you, Unity community, for being here and hanging out, dropping suggestions, problem solving, joining us live here. But we did ask for Disney dev-related puns as a bit of a joke earlier, but you guys have been absolutely crushing it. C. Stratton says, just keep coding, just keep coding.
Oh, yes, that is supremely good. I just
there have been some
something...
great ones that we haven't had the opportunity to call out yet. But that was a good one for sure.
All right, so here's what we need to add to this to make this work. And I remember because we ran into this when we were working on stuff. We got to do what is it? Override void on network spawn. Why is this mad at me?
Oh, public.
Got to be public, publico.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep. So what we need to add here is basically we need to do a check and basically say if is owner. Oh my goodness, this is real live coding. And we'll need to basically say our player input, which I think, do we have an access to that? Player input. Okay. And we'll need to make a, do we already have a player input? No, we'll make one real quick.
Maybe it's the P actions.
Joy, can you bring your cat onto the screen?
Can we have a cat, please? Where's Pen?
Screaming? Yeah.
Can we get cats on camera, please? Thank you.
So since he's screaming anyway, here's Pen. He has opinions about programming languages and Unity.
Yeah.
Let's see, how long have you been deving with me, Pen? Since Unity, let's see, 3.5? Yeah, he's a veteran.
Wow.
That's what we need a using, and then we'll just basically say player input, and we'll just call it lowercase player input. So basically what we need to do is on network spawn, we need to check if it's the owner, and if it is the owner, then we want access to it, and then we can basically enable it from here. So if it's the owner, player input equals get component player input. And then we just want to say player input dot enabled equals true. So we want to turn this on, and then we want to make sure we do our base dot on network spawn, of course. Woo. And then what we need to do from there is on network despawn.
Although we'll need to disable it if it's not the owner.
Yeah, did he not do? Let's see. But you're right. You are right. Like otherwise, we'll do else. So couldn't we just get the player input here and then check if his owner?
Very correct.
So we could just do this. Oh my gosh.
It's all good.
And then if is owner, just for safety. And then we can just basically say enable it.
Or you can put that null check before.
Just wrap everything in a null check.
Yes, but it's true because we still got to do that base on network spawn.
Yep. So you're basically saying if this does not equal null, oh my goodness, y'all.
Exactly. Then execute the rest.
Then do the stuff. Yeah, you're right. It's a good call. And then if is owner, do this. Otherwise, disable this thing.
Although that is outside. Yeah, that is outside.
Yeah, it is outside. I don't know how to code. It's fine. It's fine. There we go. Okay, and then we call it based
you
on
do,
NR
my
as well.
friend. You're coding live. Our skills.
On
20% of our skills go out the window.
All right, and then on network despawn, same thing. Override this, and then basically, let's see. Network spawn isn't on network despawn. I think
The void.
I forgot the void. I yell into it every day, and yet I can't remember.
You take it for granted, Thomas.
Yep. And then this is what we'll say: if player input does not equal null, because it'll already been assigned on spawn. You can't despawn unless you spawn. Then we're just going to disable it. Oh my goodness.
Twitch chat's out here singing, "Can you feel the leg tonight?"
I'm sorry, y'all are behind us.
Nice.
This is where we are.
I didn't expect this to be so successful. I thought it was a throwaway, silly request at the beginning. I was like, but everyone's just crushed it today.
I'm convinced that most devs secretly want to be in a musical. And so any opportunity like this, like, it's going to happen.
Okay.
By
Should
the
we try
way,
again?
somebody
got this?
shouted like, how many players can be added in the game?
Yeah.
And that is a team question. That's like that is like depends on what kind of experience you want to make. So there's no hard set line on this SDK being like, oh, you better stick to 10 players or else. No. Nothing like that. But it's usually recommended for this netcode for game objects, like a smaller amount of players. I believe maximum recommended is like 16 or 12, something like that. Whereas netcode for entities like dots with multiplayer, that's much higher.
Yeah, I was actually just about to ask, is there actually a recommended value for netcode for entities? I assume that it's probably really high if there's any recommendation at all.
20,000. No.
I mean, we're talking about entities here. Like, numbers it can do.
But if I believe the even our own sample Mega City Metros, like a recommended cap is like 120 something players.
It's not bad.
But not, yeah, exactly.
And it runs like we've done some pretty big tests before. I know you're doing that workshop for game development for poets, I think it was. And we were testing, and there was like a bunch of us playing.
Yeah. And they did other internal play tests, and there were like at least 60 something people. Like, no, and it worked.
Right,
It worked great.
Here we go.
Yeah, should we do like meditative breathing to get through this, Thomas?
Might.
I mean,
Now-
if you need a pep talk, you let me know. That's mostly what I'm here for. Is just morale.
I'm pretty sure this will solve the issue because like Noel was super confident. I'm nervous because like I tried to do it quickly live and I didn't like fully read his whole Slack message here. So
You
Let's
just
find
got
out,
excited and started implementing.
We skimmed.
There's the bottom of the
yeah.
message. But if you do not implement this correctly, you will be cursed.
Wait,
yeah,
did I
it's
see
working.
player 2
It's
spawning
working.
a hot dog?
Am I
It's
seeing
working.
hot dogs?
Yeah.
All right,
All
let's see
right,
some
cool.
hype in chat.
Shout outs to our man
The
Noel.
dogs.
Oh
So
my God.
I'm going to do
It-
my best to explain what was happening and why we had to do this. So what was happening is basically with netcode for game objects, you have a client version of an object, and then you have like the replicant, right? And Esteban, you can step in and be like, Tom, you're wrong at any moment. But you basically have replicants,
Nope,
and
you got
every
this.
single one of those has a local instant of the actions. And so basically, my understanding is it was basically just overriding itself constantly. And so it was unable for the client to figure out like which action fired. And so by doing this, we basically said, listen, the only actions that matter are on the actions that is server instantiated and is the owner. And by doing that, we now were able to clean up this mess, which is way better than the solution I found before I knew this, where I basically had like 35 checks to figure out which instance it was. So huge shout out to Noel. That's one thing about like Unity I'm really a fan of is I basically posted this in like a public channel that was like, I am stuck, please help. Please do send help.
Yeah.
And the next morning I got this really thoughtful response from one of our engineers. And then 3 hours later, he sent me the code to fix it. And was like, oh yeah, it's because of this. And I was like, man, thank you so much for your time. And anyway, it was a really cool experience. So like, thank you to them. But now we have hot dogs. We have hot dog schmoovin'.
We got the dogs. The bull calls out a stream full of adults cheering for hot dogs is why I love game dev today.
This is why we're here.
This is what it's all about.
This
is why we log in.
Yeah, but to kind of plus one your sentiment about Unity being great in the sense that you can just ask for help and people give it. That extends beyond internal Unity and into the Unity community as well. If you guys are not already in the Unity Discord, I pop in there occasionally and just see people literally doing exactly that. Like, hey, I'm doing this and I don't understand why I'm having this issue. And people just offering their own time and resources to help problem solve. It's very cool to see, as the dev community is new to me, that level of support is there amongst strangers in the community. It's awesome to see. So it's lovely that we get the opportunity to interact with you all here in these streams as well.
Agreed. All right, real quick, I want to demonstrate what we were talking about with our identifiers because we have the build working. So right now we have player 1 and player 2, right? So I'm going to go ahead and close out player 1's client, and then I'm going to relaunch the client. Now this is a net new client connecting, right? This is not the same client. So if I hit client, now player 3 shows up. So that's what I'm talking about with that spawning option of, because this is assigned a net new owner client ID, it is now player 3. And player 2 is being held for it to actually show up and be there. Cool. All right. Just want to make sure we demonstrated that because I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity. So there we go. All right. Hot dogs are spawning. They're spawning on the server. They're spawning on the network. Things the hot dogs are not doing, moving. They are also not colliding with anything, but also they're not coming from an object pool. Esteban, do we have time to make an object pool work?
I believe that we can try.
All right.
I will say though, there was one question that I saw. Oh man, I kind of got lost in the chat. How orthogonal is NGO? So netcode for game objects and netcode for dots, and they're completely separate solutions.
Yep.
As netcode solutions, and even though they both of them work with the Unity transport and work with Unity, but yeah. So yeah, like you can use them for the same purposes, but those two solutions do not depend on each other.
All right, I'm going to search for this network object.
Thank you, Jacob, for. By the way, a lot of questions in the chat. Like, thank you.
Great questions. Today. Very thoughtful, very insightful opportunities for us as well.
Okay, but back to object pooling. Yes, I believe that we can try. Okay, so what Thomas has just pulled up here is our netcode for game objects documentation, where it talks about object pooling. And Thomas and Joy, like you both implemented this this thing of object pooling. Like, what is the benefit of using object pools?
Well, I mean, look at all the hot dogs that we spawned just a minute ago, and imagine that. Like, how long are our waves? Well, I mean, that's dependent on how many. The point of the matter is that there's potential for so many hot dogs, and every instantiation is just going to like really up that processing power. So it's far better to just recycle. You want to recycle your hot dogs, is what I'm getting at. We don't need to be making new hot dogs all the time. We suspect hot dogs are recycled anyway, so let's just further that idea.
Exactly. And it's going to save us from like garbage collection, which is a big thing, right, y'all? So we're not going to have to, instead of hitting spacebar, having a hot dog be created, and then having that hot dog fly, hit a person in the face, there's a greasy explosion, and then it is destroyed. Instead, it'll just return to the pool. Also, I just looked at the live stream chat, and I saw Joy talking, and I thought she was talking on mute, and it confused me. So, word of the wise, do not look at the chat out there, the stream output, while you're having a conversation with somebody. It will confuse you. But yeah, so that's the general idea, right? Is we return it to the pool, which means we basically like deactivate it and move it off screen instead of actually destroying it and then having to free up memory with garbage collection. So it just saves a lot of resources. Yeah.
And I will say, and another thing is that, remember, we are spawning all those hot dogs. We're spawning them manually, but every time you spawn a hot dog, that's actual, those are not, don't think of it as just instantiating the prefab. Like think of it as instantiated prefab, and also sending messages and having to wait for that time for that message to get there, and like that's you like using your bandwidth basically in a not the most efficient way. So if you need to spawn some objects like this dynamically every now and then, that's fine. But if you know you're gonna need like Joey said, like all those hot dogs, then yeah, definitely take advantage of this. So, and what Thomas is doing right now is that the Neko for Game Objects documentation, they have an implementation of object pooling, a component that you can actually use to pool your network objects and your network objects. And in fact, Neko for Game Objects, it has a particular interface that you must implement in order to pool all these objects. Because remember, we are pooling objects that live in both client and server. So that means like there's additional work that must be done in managing that memory.
Now, I want to take a guess, and you can correct me, but the specific thing you have to implement, are you talking about the network prefab handler?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are correct. And in fact, quick note, and if people, when they're trying it out on their own, you'll see that in fact, like the network object pooling in Neko for Game Objects, even in this sample, it actually takes advantage of the offline or the single player object pooling that you can use. So that's one of the coolest things. It's like you're still using some of those tools that you already use in your single player development.
Yep. What's also really nice about this version of it, I think, is that we can now use this object pooling for our food and all of our enemies, because we have this beautiful struct of a config object that we can just basically create versions of it in the array and basically just be like, hey, I need 100 of these, 100 of these, 100 of these, 100 of these. And then we just basically tell it what we want to pull out of the pool from this singleton, which is really nice, I think.
So, okay. And for those of you that have seen the bite-sized samples or boss room, they use the same class. Like they might have modified maybe a little bit just for, I don't know, for readability or something, or comments, but it's the same implementation. Like it's the same technique.
And let's try to walk through this code really fast, just to understand what's happening here. So on network spawn, we're going to iterate through every config object in the pooled prefabs list, and we're going to register the prefab internal, right? And we're going to say, how many do we want to pre-warm up and what prefab are we registering? So if we head down to this register prefab internal, so we're basically taking the prefab, giving our count, and we are creating all of these different actions. And then we're going through the pre-warm count and we're adding them to our pooled objects list. And then let's see, if we're in pre-warm network objects, pooled objects prefab.release, we're also then releasing them. So we're creating them, which is instantiating them, because inside of the get is actually calling instantiate and network spawn. And then we're going to release them because then they don't need to all be in the game. And then we're going to add a handler here, basically to register our spawn handlers.
Very correct. As you can see, that like Thomas, that's actually tied to the network manager singleton. That's like even the network manager, it also needs to be involved in the equation. So like, hey, but like I also got to know about this. And for those of you like, because can you scroll back up a little bit, Thomas? So in that function, register prefab internal, like to provide even more context, the prefab of the game object, internally it works with a dictionary or a hash map, and that prefab is going to be the key to getting the array of pooled objects. So it works on two levels. So the prefab is the key that gives me the array of allocated objects, and from there we can go ahead and pick. Like if you think about it like a kitchen drawer, the prefab, like, and you have spoons, knives, and forks. For some reason, you have them all stored in different kitchen cabinets. Based on what you need. I need the spoon. Well, then you open the spoon cabinet, and then you go ahead and the spoon drawer, and then you draw your spoon and close it back up.
So wait, you don't just rifle through your kitchen cabinet, praying there's a spoon in there? That's like when you do. I just dump the whole dish into the drawer and just shake it up and then close the drawer. That's.
Oh no!
Wow.
That was like an analogy. No,
I love
I
an
have all
analogy.
my utensils just in just one drawer.
Okay.
This is an
So
ideal.
you all know that there are little sorters, right? Like you can go to Target and buy
Not
like
important.
an actual spoon. Oh man, I am not for this. Like we need. So I think we need to start applying some programming principles to y'all's kitchens.
All right. It's
I
fair.
have a linked
So,
list of utensils. That's it.
that's it. It's a linked list, and you have to actually put the utensil in the drawer, and then it'll show you where that type of utensil is.
Exactly.
Now, if you don't return the
mean-
utensil to the pool, then you get yelled at.
Okay, this is real life. We're talking about real life right now.
All right. Let's let's get back to what we're doing here. So, somebody asked if we could drop the link to the code in the discussion. Sure. Let me see if I can find where I stole this directly from the documentation here. Let's see. This is the network object spawner you sent us, Esteban. Also, how cool is it that Esteban has an actual? He's on the multiplayer repo. Like he's there.
Oh, it's the summer of Esteban.
Famous.
So here's the code we stole. And I mean, by stole, I mean implemented. So we're going to utilize this because it's such a well-written thing, and we have this ready. So really, all we need to do then is set this up and then tell it when we want to get things, right? We reach out to the network object instance and say, hey, give me this thing, and we pass in the prefab we want, and then it will pull it out of the pool, right?
Yes. Now you still have to do. I believe you still have to do extra stuff, and I believe that we have in handy some help from our good buddy Noel, who also helped us out a little bit with.
Okay.
So Noel, if you're listening to this, shout out. He's
Thank
one
you.
of the creators of Netcode for Game Objects to begin with, so that's why. Yep, he's an awesome dude. But yes, now we should be able to have so we can create an empty game object, which will be the network object pool. So like the manager.
Okay. So let's do that first. Let's throw this in there. So we'll do this and we'll create an empty. We'll call it network object pool. And then we need to add our network object pool to it, I assume.
Yes, we do. And then we can. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see and how they do it.
Yeah, you pull it up because I am a little concerned as to I thought we'd see a struct here.
Exactly.
Let me make sure I've set this right. Pull it up.
Perhaps we need a wrapper around. Oh, true. We need a class that actually uses the network object pool. So I kind of jumped the gun there.
Okay, so we need to make a script. Is that what you're telling me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
we'll create a C# script, or is there one we can steal from, or should we just make one?
looking at over here.
Network object.
Whoa. Oh, I see. Or we can, there we go. We can also, if you want to add, we can also add like a serialized field of list of pooled object configs.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, and what do we need to add this into our network object pool into a new object?
We could do it in both in the network object pool or the, I'd rather use a separate thing that calls to the network object pool.
Yep.
Instead of including it in the tool. That's like,
I agree.
That's like if the kitchen drawer for some reason was tied to spoons and yeah.
Okay. Let me.
I'm following.
I'm going to reorganize my kitchen after the stream. Like, I am very nervous about the chaos I've been living in. Okay. So what should we call this new behavior? Should we call it?
Let's call it let's call it let's call it network object pool manager, like just to begin with.
Easy peasy. Yep. And then of course Visual Studio opens for me. Thank you so much for
because
doing that.
it's going to be managing the calls it's going to be managing the calls to the network
for the network pool. Okay.
So yeah.
Let me just double click to bring the code up. We'll have our boilerplate. Okay, so you're saying we should have a list of
pooled object config, because serialized field, a list of pooled object configs.
Can I just not type? Is that the issue?
I mean, trying to type on stream is hard mode at all times.
Oh, no, a list of object pooled config.
Yep.
And in fact, you might need to.
What is this thing? Let's actually.
Oh, yeah,
what is this actual thing called? Hold on. Pool config object. Aha.
Oh, nice. Oh, I see. Your word pooled is in past tense. Oh, wait, what?
So here's a question.
Oh, no,
for
it should
you.
be in past tense. My bad.
Well, let's take a look here, because this already has a public static. This already has a list here on the network object pool, right?
Yeah.
So shouldn't this, and it's serialized, so shouldn't this show up and we can just use this?
Can you click F12 on pool config object? It should be a public struct.
Whoa.
Oh.
I don't think
lost
you were
Tom?
supposed to hit that button.
Uh-oh. Thomas is frozen.
Okay.
Oh, we lost Thomas.
Okay,
Well, Esteban, you just hit him with like the old web gaming thing. Hey, Alt F4 will hit you with this really cool new
I said
weapon you
F12.
can get.
Hey guys. Hey, let's
all
just go ahead and get rid of that useless System 32 folder while we're at it.
Let's just get rid of Thomas entirely. Oh my goodness. Well, since we've got a moment while we try to get Thomas back, I do want to call out, because I've been asked a couple of times in chat here, will these videos be available? Are parts 1 and 2 available to catch up? And yes, absolutely. Make sure you go over to the Unity YouTube page, youtube.com/unity/live. And from there, you will have access to all of the previous videos. And after each of our episodes finishes, we will be going through and chaptering them. So you can skip through the conversations, you can skip through to just the information if that's what you're looking for. And I encourage everybody who maybe popped in the middle of this one and is a little bit unsure of where we're at, catch up, because we will be doing a part 4 next week as well. Do we have Thomas back in the mix?
I think I'm back. I hear my voice.
Oh my God, it was so good.
We are getting Thomas back.
Can you explain what just happened? Because it's my favorite thing.
Oh man.
Oh, did he go away again? Oh, he's muted again.
I think we're still waiting to bring Thomas in.
Okay. It's so good.
But I gotta say, like, shout out to everybody who's here today. The chat's been more lively than I've seen it maybe ever. We've really enjoyed hanging out with you, chatting with you, and answering some of your questions, all of these types of things. So shout out to you, Unity community, because you've been excellent so
great.
far. And thank you for enabling Joy's chaotic efforts to remove Thomas from the stream.
Hey, that wasn't me. That was 100% Esteban. Like, he had this mission planned out from the beginning, I'm sure.
You're right. You're right.
He's sitting here planning last night. Okay, cut back to last night. Esteban's sitting there in his planning chamber, and he's like, okay, midstream, I have to get rid of Thomas. How am I going to do this? All right, I'm going to direct him. All right, we're going to do some basic coding, and then he's going to be like having trouble writing, because that's what Thomas does sometimes, and then I'm going to have him hit F12, and it's going to all go, and I'm going to take over the stream. That's how I become the main star of the Unity stream. This was because it's Esteban Summer. And this is what Esteban Summer is all about.
This is Esteban Summer, not Thomas Summer.
No. No. This isn't Thomas Summer. This is Esteban Summer.
Oh
We're
my God.
on to you, Esteban. We know. We know what you're doing.
Thomas is on the way back. A round of applause for the glorious return of our fearless leader, Thomas.
Plan has been full.
Thomas, I got super roasted while you were back.
Thomas,
So,
we
out-
defended your honor.
My work keyboard, the F12 button is also the sleep button. So you were like, push F12, and I was like, all right, cool. Boop, gone. Like, as soon as I hit it, all my monitors turned off, and I was like, oh no.
See, what you don't know is that Esteban's the one who sent that laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all set up.
Weekend
like,
calling out Esteban went full Disney villain. Tipsy Monk says, wasn't it
See?
Esteban's code that Tom just downloaded? Interesting.
All right, guys, start working on Esteban's villain Disney song, please.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, we are back though. So what I was saying before I set myself on fire was there already is a serialized list of pool config object on the network behavior, on the network object, right? So
Yes.
why?
Sorry,
I'm
the
afraid to
excitement.
speak that.
It's hard to come back from.
Yeah, it's really hard to. Wait, hold on. There's something mad at me here. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this, just so we can have this basic script here, because I feel like if we just let everything sync, we should actually have access to that config list. I feel like it, but also I might push F12. Oh, here we go. Now it's mad. Yes, give us a network object.
Freeman,
yeah,
can
see?
we switch back to our
Yeah, let's see your screen.
screen share here?
Oh, my screen share is my screen share off. I think my screen share is
we
actually
can
off.
only see your lovely face, but it would
Got
be
it.
helpful to see the code.
Yeah, let me actually do my screen share.
Our technical producer being like, I would love to, but
It's like, I would love to cut to that scene, but Tom,
gotta
you
fetch it,
didn't
yeah.
do it.
There we go.
Okay.
Nice. And
So-
we're back.
What I was pointing out was I think we just needed to finish configuring this object because there already is a serialized pool right here, a list of pool config objects here. And so we just needed to like finish it, and now we can actually see it. It's here.
Heck yeah.
So now we just add this element.
Oh,
And
and I
we-
see that you jumped, added the network object and everything. So beautiful.
Yep. It actually threw a warning and said, hey, you need to do this. So I just did it.
Perfect.
So then we can go to our assets and we want to add our, what was it called? Hot dog ammo, I think is what we called it.
Yep, it's in the list.
Boop, boop.
There you
And
go.
then we want to pre-warm 100 hot dogs.
A reasonable amount of hot dogs.
Reasonable amount of glizzies.
backyard cookout ready to go.
Anything under 2 digits. No.
No. 3-digit
Not
max.
a party I want to
min.
go to.
Okay, so if we save this, what's interesting is because of the way we're doing this, we're not actually going to see the hot dogs show up in the inspector. But we need to hook up getting access to the hot dogs next to show that this works, right?
So now, so now basically the way that we were spawning the hot dogs before, now instead of spawn hot dog, like, I don't know, like throwing a Pokeball, like Pikachu.
I choose you.
I choose you. But no,
dog.
now it's a pooled objects, like pooled Pikachus, and you just give me a Pikachu.
Yep.
Okay.
So inside of this RPC then, right? We don't want to call the network object spawner, right?
Yeah, so we can comment that out because we're no longer gonna be spawning just blah, blah, new hot dogs every now. Now, what we want to do is take advantage of those pooled hot dogs and get a reference to them.
So network object pool. Hold on. No. So we got to call. So what are we calling here? Static network object pool singleton. So we want to call our
So-
network object pool.
Dot singleton should be a public class.
And missing using directive or an assembly reference. Using netcode.
Oh, is it because it's inside of a particular namespace?
Ooh, it might be,
network
it might be.
object Pool. Oh yeah, it is boss room infrastructure.
Oh, okay. Should we just get rid of the namespace?
Yeah, because we are not making boss room. We're not.
Well, you're not making a boss room. I am. I am the boss room. All right. So network object pool dot singleton. Sorry, I don't know. I just felt sassy.
We're in chaos mode, and I appreciate it. It's going to carry us to the end.
Dot get. No, hold on. What is that? Then we got to find the function, right?
Get network object, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And now we need to tell it. We need to pass in the key. So we're going to send in our hot dog prefab.
Heck yeah.
We're going to tell it where to put it, which is at spawnpause.position. And then we'll just do quaternion.identity for rotation, right?
For now, yeah. If we
Okay.
need to rotate it, we can put in something else.
Yep.
All right. But that'll give us a network object. So we should store that variable. And if I'm not mistaken, we should spawn it. But
Oh, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. You're right. So we'll say var spawned hot dog.
spawn hot dog.
Spawned hot dog. Sorry, we watched Twisters yesterday, and the only thing I got out of that movie
Oh,
was
was it?
wanting to talk like it's not.
Okay.
It definitely
That's
has
what I
tornadoes.
needed to know.
It has tornadoes though. If you're into tornadoes, it's got those. Spawned
Does it
hot
have
dog.
a cow like in the older one?
No, they do something else instead of the cow this time. I can't remember what it might have been a goat. I don't remember. Okay.
That is the lesser.
Cows come and gone, they said.
So to make sure,
To a new animal.
spawned hot dog equals this stuff. So we're basically getting this variable, right? We're saying, hey, get me an object and put it to this position and make sure it's this rotation. And then we just need to actually spawn it so that it shows up, right?
If I'm not mistaken, that should work.
All right. Here we go. So, I mean, honestly, if we just hit play and this works, we're probably successful because it's reaching into the right thing and doing the thing. Let's find out. And if that works, our homework for next time will probably be to get this implementation working for all of the objects. Host.
Yep.
Oh,
wow. Heck
sniggity
yeah.
snap.
Hold on one sec. I gotta get real close again.
Yeah, look real close.
I think we really need to think about contrast value for our
Yeah,
ammo.
these ammos are hard to see.
The hot dogs blend, and that's you don't want blendy hot dogs.
I mean, unless you got a straw. And you can,
How do I respond to that?
I don't know.
All right, everybody, shut it down.
You don't want to
End on a high.
hot dog shakes. What? Y'all ever had a hot dog shake? That's crazy.
Oh, dude,
Oh,
no.
God.
All right, let's see if this works on the client side. I'm pretty sure it does, but we should probably do that. Also, we need to make these hot dogs actually move, but that's something we can do pretty easily. And I think how are we on time? We're out of time, aren't we? Or are we done? Are we good?
Well, how much more time do you want? I'll see.
3 hours.
Oof. Hard sell. That's a tough one.
All right.
We can do a marathon stream if you really need to. I just
No.
need someone to send me food.
You don't want to see me crying.
Yeah.
There's no marathon. Like I love game dev. There is no world in which you should stare and work on a project for like more than 2 to 3 hours without walking away.
Yeah.
Ooh, so that's what I've been doing wrong.
All right. We do have to wrap up because we are going to lose our technical producer shortly.
All right, so let's just test this, assign homework, and wrap up then. Because I mean, honestly, we got a lot of the implementation done. And again, huge shout out to the Netcode team for having the
Heck yeah.
for having a really nice network object pooling solution set up for us that we could utilize. Not saying you don't have to write your own, not saying you shouldn't write your own, just saying that we are providing that. So if you don't want to write your own, you can utilize this. So, and yeah, I think this is pretty exciting. I do think I don't think we're going to finish this in 4. We might have to go to 5 streams. What do y'all think?
I think we should absolutely do it because I've put it in the schedule. So if we don't, that means I'm in trouble.
All right, we're doing it. All right, let's resize this window a bit. We're going to have this be the host. Oh, wait, no. Oh, well, that's fine. Now, look, we're going to see I'm going to join late, and we should see it all just work as expected because we put that little check in there. The check is in the mail. Oh, hi. That's the game loading song, by the way.
Okay. I'm going to take a screen record of
ESPN.
that, and we're going to implement it as official music.
Perfect. Okay, join as a client.
Okay.
Join as a client. There we go. Hey, we're pulling.
Old hot dogs.
Let's do it. We're pooling them dogs. Could you imagine a swimming pool full of hot dogs?
I have been imagining
Well, I
it the whole
can
stream.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the evil we're putting into the world with this stream is wild. Okay.
And
So
we just and the Olympics just ended.
Oh,
Lost opportunity.
that's an event for
Actually,
for
100 meter
2028.
hot dog swim dash or
That-
something.
No, here's the thing though. It's like there's always so much trouble figuring out what to do with the event space after the Olympics. I think France just got a solution. You know, let's just fill those Olympic-sized pools with hot dogs and,
Yeah.
you know, let whatever will be.
Perfect.
All right. Can we do one more thing before we end the stream? Just because I wanted to do it earlier and I forgot to, and it's really easy.
Sure.
What-
we
what-
have
Can we
10
sync
minutes.
animations?
roughly.
Sync
Sync
animations.
Yeah, like it's really easy. So we're just gonna do it really fast. We need to sync the animations, and I just would like to have them done. So we're gonna go to our character prefab real fast. And if we go to where the animator lives, which is on the actual model, we can actually add a network animator. And then all we have to do is get reference to the animator here, and we're good. It's really easy.
Whoa.
But now animation will
that.
sync between our client and our host. So I just wanted to fix that real fast.
Yay.
And then we
Again,
can actually
another cool
Oh, good.
component made by the Netcode team.
Yeah, another thing the Netcode team set us up with, and it's actually really nice because we actually need this for the player, but we're not going to need it for the enemies. Remember, Esteban found this when we were working on it, because the enemies are all spawning and they're all, the animator states are all like in sync. Essentially, we don't actually have to sync animation for the enemies because they're just doing one animation. They're just in a walk cycle, which is super handy, like super optimal.
It's one of those things I got to think about. Where, but you can take advantage. It's like, okay, it's not synchronizing, but at the same time, it's not like one player. It's not like the players are gonna be like looking at the other player's screen and be like, wait a minute, my zombie's at frame 745. Why is your zombie at 717? No.
Okay, but you're saying that, and now that guarantees there's a player out there who's going to call us out.
That's
You've
okay.
implanted that idea. More evil
That
from the
person
summer of
should
Esteban.
you should go into QA.
I keep pressing
really
F12.
good at it.
Esteban out here in his villain era.
Let's just see if the animation syncs now. Play. And then that'll be the end of it. I just like early on, I'm like, oh, we were going to do that. And since it's such an easy component to add, I think it's really, really nice to set up.
Yeah. And when you were like, do we have more time? I didn't realize that you meant like 30 seconds.
Also, I'm nobody probably cares, but that little bit of code that Noel gave us that was basically the fixing the player movement, the on throw issue, that represents 6 hours of my troubleshooting.
Wow.
Before I finally called him and he was like, oh, it's this. Here you go, bud. That was cool.
But this is why it's so important to have, conversations with other devs.
Community.
Can you all hear me? Because I can't hear you.
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. I can't hear the gang, so hopefully I haven't been talking over you all. I'm so sorry. Let's just do this really fast. Host. Okay. Animation working. It's not working. Okay, we'll have to take a look at that. Client. Let's go look. Okay, the animation sync didn't work as fast, but that's okay. I'm gonna refresh really fast to see.
See, this is what happens when you say one last thing.
Just one real quick thing. It's going to be easy. Don't even worry about it. And now here we are. Tom is still playing the game, though.
Yeah. I love that he's gone, but he's not gone.
He's here in spirit, He's here in spirit.
There we go.
Thomas, can you hear us? Welcome back.
Can you hear us, Thomas?
Nah, that's okay. Thomas, you're doing great. Yeah. Read our lips.
We believe in you.
He's that good. That's the thing. He's that good.
He doesn't need the connection to the team.
Exactly.
He hears us in spirit. He hears us with his heart.
Yeah.
Network spirit.
Okay. We are going to wrap up right now. So thank you, Thomas, for persevering over every technical challenge in the book. Thank you, Esteban, for throwing wrenches and chaos into Thomas's life with the F12. But for sharing your insight. It's been incredible. Enjoy. Lovely to have you back. How have you felt rejoining the team?
So much fun. God, it was so great to come back on. Oh, Thomas is waving.
He doesn't know that we're not 100% out just yet, but
he doesn't know.
I can do the shilling as well. Make sure to check out Unity Learn tools if you're a student or an educator. We have links that will come into chat. Thomas is alone in the dark void of silence, but you can see everything for your free Unity student plan here, all of your benefits on screen. Also, come and see us at Unite in Barcelona in September if you're able. There will be a ton of exciting things, a keynote and a ton of presentations there. If you cannot make it live, join us for the live streams. We'll have more information about that and what you can expect as well. Join us next Tuesday, that's August the 20th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is noon Eastern time, where we will be continuing with part 4 of NetCheck here with the gang. I believe we will also have Kirk back, so there might be a shuffling of our squad here, but please and come and check us out. If you joined us partway through and want to catch up on everything, again, check out the YouTube page, youtube.com/unity/live, which will have all of our previous streams to allow you to catch up and join us. Skydriver says it would be great if you could expand the student plans to the courses of the Unity partners like CodeMonkey. We have plans on the live stream to potentially start bringing in some of our Unity insiders to showcase some different opportunities for learning and content there as well. So look forward to that. Again, I'm your senior community manager. I'm new here. I'm taking over the live streams. I would love to create awesome content with you all to continue to bring you all here. You showed up today. You guys have been incredible in the chat on both the YouTube and the Twitch side. If you guys have content that you want to see, please let us know. We've already had these conversations. We've heard, we've listened to your recommendations. We're taking them all into consideration. So again, thank you so much for being here. Again, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody on the team, to Thomas, to Esteban, to Joy, and of course to Freeman working behind the scenes. Thank you to everybody who made this live stream possible. We will see you all again next Tuesday. My name is Jax, and we're out.